even that one guy named Jesus, it said that based on the scripture, based on the New Testament, it's been claimed by those, and when I say those, I'm just being facetious here, that even Jesus Christ was an INFJ. Come on now. Nah, but that's pretty good company to be in, Mahatma Gandhi and Jesus Christ. I will tell you this, though. I've always been a deep thinker. I've always had a kaleidoscope of emotions. I'm pretty self-controlled with my emotions, but I tend to have a manifestation of the sin in the world, and it's really hard. It's a hard undertaking because I have a very sensitive heart. I love to please. I love consistency. I love peace. I love harmony and tranquility. I love positive energies. But if there's any disruption of that, which, I really struggle sometimes in how to articulate my care for someone. I can love them all day long, but when it comes to love language, I'm really confused about that sometimes. ADHD, it can be a strength, like I said. I've had many opportunities where there's things that's presented to me, such as creative writing. All throughout school, kindergarten through 12th grade, I was an exceptional writer. I did make a few clerical mistakes, because that's just the way my brain works, but the intention, the effort was there. Now, I always have a lot of very creative impulses. You can consider me as an artsy fartsy kind of person. I love to color with my girls. I think in color. But, there just came a time where I just recognized that I can't, and perhaps maybe I need help. And so I took the step to get evaluated, and I made the commitment to take medication to help my condition. And can I just tell you that and it was very shortly after I started taking my medication that I really just came to a sense that my life was fundamentally better. And what I'm saying is I was in control of my thought. There wasn't a flightiness. I was somewhat consistent in my train of thought. I could finish a thought in a conversation. I wasn't so forgetful. That's one thing that always hit me hard, is just my sense of forgetfulness. Gosh, I'd forget my keys, my wallet. Lord, I don't know how many times I had to reapply for my Social Security card because I lost my wallet here, there, and everywhere. It gets old after a while. And I know that I told you earlier in part 1 of this episode, look, I was growth mindset before growth mindset was growth mindset. Look, I've always been lumped into a category where people thought I was arrogant but here's what I'll tell you. I didn't have the easiest of upbringings with just things outside of my control, but I'll tell you, I had a resolve and a grit and a get it and a get after it kind of mentality my entire life. And, and I've learned to become a self-sustained, independent learner, an independent, self-sustained, hungry thinker. And I didn't want to think that I had something wrong with me, because for 27 years of my life, I never had to take medication for anything. I was a picture of health, or so we're so led to believe. I had never taken any kind of prescription other than a steroid to help something, or an antibiotic with a seasonal sickness or something. Look, I was scared to death when medication was recommended as the best option. Now, there's different avenues of thought. You can actually go through therapy. You can go through think tanks or groups that can help you. You can actually talk one-on-one with a therapist that can help enhance and identify some weaknesses and strengths that you have and help talk you through it. But, there comes a time, and we're thinking about our students, where it may be time to consider. Medicine makes a big change. Medicine, and though it's not like, I hate how taboo it has become, but the fact of the matter is, I, as a teacher, it would devastate me. It would break my heart to see someone struggling because they were not in control of themselves. And what I'm saying is, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, I'm not a person that is qualified to make designations, to make evaluations about someone's mental health or abilities or disabilities, but I will tell you this, it hurts to see a kid struggle. And what I'm saying is, it hurts when a kid does not know what success feels like. I'm going to give you a concrete example of what medication did for me. I'm just going to be honest with you that when I was actually prescribed medication, my world, instead of shades of black and white, different shades of gray there. Don't think too much into that, dear God. But I will tell you this, that it reminded me a lot of the first time I got glasses. When I bought my first pair of glasses after getting an evaluation, an eye exam, I never realized how beautiful leaves are on a tree when I can see the individual leaves on a tree. My entire life I had learned to look at the forest. I had been looking at the forest. I couldn't even identify the trees within the forest. It is a beautiful feeling, y'all, my audience, when you finally can see clearly, when there's clarity and not confusion. All I knew was confusion. ADHD, and look, it's not a death sentence. It's not a prison sentence. It's an awareness tool, because all of us have something. I'm going to be honest with you. Some of us are rude. Some of us are stupid when it comes with our emotions. And what I'm saying is we're gullible. But that's not, I should walk that comment back. It's not stupid if you haven't acquired the skill set. It's stupid if you have learned the skill set, but yet you let people walk all over you like a doormat. See, there comes a topic of conversation there, where we all have something where we all need to develop. We all need to grow. We all need to adopt a growth mindset and self-efficacy about ourselves. Now, I'm going to wrap up this part of the episode, this part talking about me, and I want to get into the antithesis of that disadvantage of 90% in the effect size with a child that's not being medicated for ADHD. So what happens when a child is medicated? Let's talk about that in part 3. We'll see you there. Welcome to part 2 of our series on ADHD. Now, we left off in the last episode where I was disclosing the love that my mother gave me, capitalizing upon my weaknesses, trying to enhance my areas that needed growth by loving me. And what I mean by loving me, look, you have never in your life met a more disorganized person than this guy right here. What I'm saying, it looks bad. And that's a skill set that I'm still acquiring to this day. Look, I'm so glad that my mother never condemned me for my disorganization, never condemned me for my flightiness, never condemned me for my 100,000 energy, as my 7-year-old says. Look, we're all different. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. Once we recognize that, I think this world would be a much, much better place. Don't you agree? Now, let's get back on the topic of ADHD. Like I said in the last episode, a student who has not taken medication for their diagnosed ADHD is at a 90% detriment, 90% disadvantage to those, I guess you'd call the control in the classroom. And there is no average or typical student in a classroom. Look, every child is on the kaleidoscope, on the spectrum of learning. But the one thing that really jumps out at me is that as a teacher with ADHD, I would like to think that early in my career, now I was diagnosed with ADHD halfway into my 6th year teaching. And it was alarming for me because, I don't know, I guess it was how I was appraised. And I guess just, I don't know, I've been recognizing things my entire life about the disorganization, the flightiness of thought, my difficulty in sleeping patterns, kind of like a yo-yo diet, if I'm not being too crass there. Just very, not obnoxious, but impulsive. And sometimes, throughout the many years before I was diagnosed with ADHD, the one thing that really jumps out at me is the fact that I always wanted to do good. I always wanted to meet the needs and meet the expectations and desires of the people around me. But sometimes I was restrained by something. And I know that has a negative connotation, and sometimes we limit ourselves to those. But I don't know, I went through a period of just thinking that it was unfair that things just came so much easier for other people. And like I said in the first part of this episode, this series, there are many people that champion the fact that ADHD is actually a strength. And I agree with you, because there's no one who has more ideas than I do about anything. Look, I got something to say about everything. That's why a podcast seems to fit nice and snug and comfortably in the palm of my hand. Because, look, if you ever need someone to say something, just put a mic in front of me, because I have an opinion about everything. However, now that I have a diagnosis of ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, I'm learning more about myself. And see, as a teacher, as a student, I'm a lifelong student. I go to the University of Hard Knocks. One thing that I've understood is that I love learning about myself. As I've referenced in an earlier podcast episode about MBTI, the Myers-Briggs personality analysis. Look, I'm an INFJ. There's 16 personalities documented in the Myers-Briggs personality analysis, MBTI. 16 personalities, and I identify as an INFJ, which composes, if you look at the entire population of the world, hypothetically, I fit within 1% of the 100%. It is the rarest personality type, INFJ, and needless to say, I have some great company. Mahatma Gandhi.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.